There's been a battle brewing over Medicare for all. If you've been watching my show for any length of time, you know that I've been calling for it. I think we absolutely need real health care in this country that echoes what we see across Europe. Gone are the days. Get this idea out of your head, this socialized medicine. All these, conservatives want to throw it around as something that's terrible. But look at how these countries take care of their people. Look at Canada during this pandemic. Look at Europe during this pandemic. Look at Norway. Look at Scandinavian countries during this pandemic. They have a much higher quality of life than we do. Their citizens are taken care of with a form of universal basic income stimulus money through this pandemic. Japan, for instance, subsidizing 100% of lost wages and their healthcare system. When Grover hears this, he gets so pissed, and I don't blame him. He's like, wait a second. You guys take care of me. I don't have to worry about my healthcare coverage when I need to go to the vet, when I need to go get my ears checked and other things. He's taken care of. He has a form of universal basic income because he's a dog. Our dogs are treated better than us in the United States. So there's been a movement that's been growing over the past couple of years. I never thought maybe in the next 15 years I might even see it. A move towards universal basic, universal health care for everyone, Medicare for all, where everyone would have access to this, government funded, and we would all be protected. Treating and preventative medicine as well. Making sure that we wouldn't have to kick moms out of hospitals like the day after they have a child because the insurance companies run everything. And guess what? The insurance companies aren't going to pay for you to stay longer than one day in a hospital. But in Europe, stay for a week in the finest facilities that take care and handle baby deliveries. Oh, and the dad can as well not be kicked out. Like in New York City, I was kicked out of the hospital. I couldn't stay to see my son overnight. No. Got to go home. And oh, by the way, are you feeling better? Okay, good. You just had a baby? Get out of here. Get out of here. Your insurance won't cover you to stay here another night. You fine? Okay, get out of here.
And how much was it total?
Well, I can't really walk. Yeah, $30,000.
Then get the hell out.
Get the hell out. $30,000. Hit the road. Oh, you're having trouble walking? My wife was, because they had to do the epidural and they hit like a nerve in her spine and she couldn't walk. Get out. That's America's healthcare system. So there is a big movement afoot right now to try to push for a Medicare for all floor vote in the House of Representatives. How would they do this? Leverage. And how would they do this? With Nancy Pelosi, who is up for re-election as the Speaker of the House the first week of January. Will Democrats grow a pair and demand that she bring this vote to the floor of the House in order for all of these members of the representatives to go on record, put their name next to a yay or no? I'm voting for it or against it. Will she do it? If she does it, then these representatives say they vote for her. All they need is 15 of these representatives to hold back this nomination of Nancy Pelosi, to force her hand to bring this to the floor. Now, this whole argument, this whole idea started with Jimmy Dore. I think you and I are a fan of Jimmy Dore, comedian, progressive, who believes in a lot of the same things that you and I believe in. And he brought this up just like a week ago on his show. And he jokes that I think he plays himself down a little bit too much. He's like, oh, I'm just a comedian in a garage. But as words have power, and an audience, a movement around his audience grew steam and started going after some of the progressives in the House and Congress, demanding that they take action on this. So much so that they started paying attention to it. So I think he talks down at himself, or he's a little self-effacing. But hey, it started a movement. So here's Jimmy Dore the other day on his show calling for members of the House to demand a floor vote on Medicare for all.
To win the House speakership, Pelosi needs to secure the majority of the full House. The House votes the first week of January. This is our leverage. Now is our time. It's our time now. I call upon all elected House members, all the members who ran on Medicare for All, and for all the members who are part of the Progressive Caucus in Congress, all the members of the squad. What we need to do now is we need to work together as a movement. What do we need? We need 15 Democrats. That's all we need. 15 Democrats to tell Nancy Pelosi that you will not vote for her as Speaker unless Medicare for All is put on the House floor for a vote.
Will they grow a pair and do this? So the rumblings among political reporters is that, yes, a lot of these progressives want that to happen. Who will be the person to stick their neck out? Will it be Bernie Sanders calling on the House members to do this? Will it be AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Will it be any member of the squad to demand that this happens? Get them all together. If you're a squad, hey, call up the Super Friends. Hey, I'm calling a meeting of the squad. We're going to do a Zoom call. We're all going to get on the same page. Demand a floor vote. Why would this matter? It matters because, yes, there are co-sponsors of bills, right? As we know, co-sponsors, if you've followed Washington any length of time, co-sponsors of bills don't mean crap, because you have co-sponsors of bills all the time, and they get to tie their name to it and say, I was a co-sponsor of this bill. I was a co-sponsor of this bill. But very often, the bills never come to the floor for a vote. So you can sound all high and mighty, like as if you actually accomplished something, but then the vote never actually happened. So it's a good thing. You can always say that watch Sunday morning television sometime on these news channels and watch them say, I co-sponsored a bill along with this guy. Yeah, did it ever come up for a vote? No. So when a bill actually comes up for a vote, that's when you get to see all the cockroaches run away, right? It's like turning a light on. And all of a sudden, all the co-sponsors of the bill scatter. Because now, all of their lobbyists and all of their special interests are probably calling them, telling them, hey, I know that this is coming up for a vote tomorrow. You better vote against this thing. These insurance companies that, don't want universal basic income, going to get on the phone with you, all of your, these corporate Democrats, the Joe Manchins of the world. Hey, this thing's coming up for a vote tomorrow. You better not vote for this thing.
Well, the thing is, the squad.
So
this actually gives the squad a chance to become relevant where they're marginalized all the rest of the time. This is the one time they have to prove why they're there. Like, why are you there? Show us.
Right. This is the reason we voted for you. Right? This is the reason that AOC won. Because she's able to needle the leadership. She's able to say, look, these are issues that we need in America. We need higher taxes for the rich. We need Medicare for all. We need free public college. Okay, is it all talk, or are you going to actually put it up now? Because to gain relevancy here, the squad can come together with this, and it forces them to do a vote. And then we really get to see who are the true progressives and who are the, charlatans, the liars, the pretenders, right?
The careerists.
I'm thinking of that like Jackson, the careerists, yeah. And all the people that pay lip service to this crap. Oh, yeah, I want a Green New Deal. I want Medicare for every American. I want to help schools. Oh, yeah, well, you know what? We're going to vote on schools this week. And we're also going to vote on Medicare for all. Oh, I can't. I've got a thing. Can't be there. Just put me down as a abstain. I'm going to abstain from voting. Won't vote yes and won't vote no. Just put me down as abstain.
I don't know if you saw
their big corporate money rolling in.
I don't know if you saw Crystal Ball, but AOC had a lot of excuses as to why she couldn't do that, and Crystal Ball pretty much just squelched them all. Every excuse that she had that she couldn't do it.
I didn't see Crystal. I love Crystal. I used to interview Crystal on my show all the time. She's great. And no, I didn't see what she said. But
She's
for
basically
some
saying,
context on the AOC.
yeah, but
go
I was just saying, basically, she's just saying every excuse that AOC is giving that she can't do this is not accurate. She could very well do this.
Well, it's interesting. So she asks one of the. Let's see if I have the tweet here. I thought I had it. Of course, I couldn't pull it in time. Let me see if I can get this tweet up here real quick. Thought I had all my tweets today. Forgive me, everyone. This is how we roll. While I'm finding this tweet, can everyone flex your muscles and go smash that like button if you'd be so kind? Just smash that like button and subscribe to our channel if you are new here. Again, if you're just joining us late today, stimulus news is that Congress is about to deliver a $900 billion rescue package. Hopefully, maybe by the end of today's show, we will have a framework for you, and it will include direct stimulus checks. So if you are joining us late, that is a bit of breaking news as we're watching this developing story. So I'm keeping my eye on that while I do other news. I've got one eye on the news and one eye on breaking news. Here was Jake Sherman just a few moments ago. Hill negotiators are on the brink of this coronavirus package. It would leave out state and local aid, but it would have direct round of payments. That means Bernie Sanders and Josh Hawley have a small victory here. They were able to needle Congress in such a way to get them to do this. Okay, I found my tweet. So this all started, Jimmy Dore started this whole Medicare for All discussion. And then Justin Jackson, who from the Chargers, tweets this: if AOC and the squad don't do what Jimmy Dore has suggested and withhold their vote for Pelosi for speakership unless Medicare for All gets brought to the floor for a vote, they will be revealing themselves. Power concedes nothing without a demand. AOC didn't respond to Jimmy Dore. AOC responded to Justin Jackson and said, okay, this doesn't exactly make sense, she says. Problem with this idea is that there isn't enough thought given to step number 2. The Dem votes aren't there yet. And with a razor-thin margin, the Dem no's are bigger than the margin. So you issue threats, you hold your vote, and you lose. Then what? If you want to know who's opposed, just look at the co-sponsor list. Which is what I just said. Co-sponsors don't mean anything. If you're in Congress, if you're just a careerist or a corporate elitist in the House, you can just add your name. Yeah, I was a co-sponsor of the Medicare for All bill. Oh, you were? Did you ever vote for it? No, because it never got brought to the floor. Would you have voted for it? Hell no. I just added my name to the co-sponsor list so I could look good. So that argument doesn't hold any water with me. That's her main argument. It's just like, look at the co-sponsor list.
That's politics 101 right there.
Yeah. Brilliant. And then she goes on to say, in contrast, you can use leverage to push for things that can happen and change lives, i.e. a $15 minimum wage vote in the first 100 days. By the way, they already passed that in the House. You've already done that. Elevating, and Mitch McConnell's not going to take it on, elevating longtime progressive champions to important positions of leadership, also doable. That's the opportunity cost to weigh.
And how...
Well, others disagree.
And how long is that going to take to get people in there? You know what I mean? Like, we need stimulus now. We need healthcare now, but let's wait to get progressive people in there to change things.
Yeah, let's wait for another election cycle. In the meantime, you guys have already won. You have some power now. Here's what Chase Robinson says. Wrong, AOC. You need to hold their feet to the fire by holding a vote on Medicare for All and seeing who actually opposes it, because many are virtue signaling and only white lying about actually supporting it. Kamala Harris is a prime example of it. See, what Chase means is, yeah, these people add their names to these co-sponsor lists just so they can virtue signal. And then when it actually comes up to a vote, they don't support it. Kamala Harris, when she was asked to change her position on a dime because now she's, vice president-elect, Biden calls her up. It's like, hey, I know I was a part of that whole Obamacare thing, which was just a big wet kiss to insurance companies. I saw that you're a co-sponsor of a Medicare for All bill. Would you mind, removing your name from that thing? Because we're going to be president and vice president, and we can't be supporting Medicare for All. So what this does is, when you actually bring it to a floor vote, it does a couple of things. Number one, it shines a light on the cockroaches who pay lip service to being progressive. And then that's how we weed those people out. Because now the cockroaches have shown themselves. And if you get these members of the House that don't vote for Medicare for All, even though 87% of Democrats in the United States and almost 75% of Republicans support Medicare for All, but yet our leadership doesn't. So an overwhelming number of Americans want universal basic health care in this country. How many people watching right now want health care in this country? Taken care of, like other countries take care of its people.
Well, and that's
Tell
the
me
thing.
in the chat below.
You're exactly right about the cockroaches, because if they're forced to vote no, then that percentage of the American population would see who does not actually work for their constituents. Like that shows that they have a different agenda and they don't care about what we want. And it would be forced, because
Exactly.
that is public information.
Well, David, you're right. I mean, think about this for a second. Think about the campaign ads that I could run. I mean, just let's role play for a second. Do you like role playing? How about cosplay? So you put on your Mandalorian outfit, and I will put on my Jedi robe. Optimus Prime. See, you with all your fancy buttons. So I'm a progressive, okay? I'm a progressive, and you're a progressive in name only, okay? Now, we bring this for a floor vote on the House, Medicare for All. And David, in his Optimus Prime outfit, waddles down there and says, oh, now you're bringing this for a vote. I was a co-sponsor, but now you're going to vote on this? I'm going to vote no. I've got too many big insurance companies that pay my, for me to be here. I can't do that. And then Clayton, on the other hand, he's handsome, number one, right? So he's got that going for him. Then he waddles down and says, oh, we're voting on this? Yes, I'm voting yes for this, Medicare for All. That shines a light on the cockroach, right? Now, when David is running for re-election, and there's a real progressive candidate in his district who's going to run against him, he can look right at those voters and say, David voted against Medicare for All. When it was up for a vote, he voted against it. David Foster voted no.
When it mattered most to the American people.
During a pandemic, David Foster voted no. Do you want David Foster as your member of Congress? No. Vote yes for Clayton. That's how it goes. And that's how it would go. So in this way, we would shine a light on this. So Justin Jackson went back and forth with AOC over this whole thing. Here's a member of the Chargers, NFL player, going back and forth with AOC saying, this would shine a light on the people that are not, this would help our platform. And she said, you bring up a good point. Yet, there's no movement on this. Nancy Pelosi gets nominated once again and will be voted as Speaker of the House on the first week of January. And the argument from these weak-kneed liberals is that the idea that, we're going to change her. We'll just vote her in again, and then we'll move her to the left. What is she, 78 years old? You're going to move? That's like trying to teach an old dog new tricks. And by the way, you thought you could do this before, remember? You thought you could change Nancy Pelosi and move her more left before, and it didn't work. And guess what? We lost tons of elections. Progressive candidates actually won.
Well, and talk
November.
about the chance to actually push them left. This is the one opportunity to actually do the pushing.
Right. Exactly. You could actually push them in this way, and they could see the light. I mean, what do they have to lose? Imagine a majority of Americans want this. What are they? They think they know better than we do? By the way, all these members of Congress have the type of health care that we're calling for all Americans. Right? They already have this type of health care. President Trump gets COVID. They fly him out on a friggin' helicopter. They give him the best medical coverage. He praises the medical staff. He got socialized medicine. Rudy Giuliani last week, after he got COVID, tweeted out about the hospital and said the staff was fantastic. He got socialized medicine care taken care of. That's all we're asking for.
Well, and get this, they get $175,000 a year, and they get a $30,000 a year furniture budget. On top of that, $30,000 for furniture for their offices.
Yeah. That reminds me of an ABC News anchor I knew one time. When back when all that money was flowing through corporate television, ABC, a friend of mine got the job at ABC, and they gave him like a $15,000 furniture budget for his little New York City office. He could go buy any couch he wanted, like Peter Jennings. He could get his couch and his bookshelves in his office, so he could go and read 1 hour of news. That's Congress, $30,000 furniture budget.
That's one of the things I
paid for by you.
Yes, we just bought them furniture. We can't eat food, but you know what? Go out and get that red desk you wanted. That's one of the things I loved about Ron Paul. Every year he returned all that money. He never took it. There are some Congress people or senators that don't take that money. They actually return it because they feel like, well, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I wonder if Bernie Sanders does too. I mean, it's ridiculous. And, I remember Chuck Schumer was, I think, living with 3 other members of Congress, and he slept on a cot for years. That's what they did. That's where Chuck Schumer, I don't know if that's changed now that he's, but even as he was in a leadership role, he was still sleeping on a cot. That's the way it should be. Caitlin Johnstone had a great piece this morning, and she says this entire revolutionary struggle is ultimately a battle between movement and inertia. See, what she's saying is that this whole Medicare for all argument is that she says proponents of inertia always try to get people hung up on whether or not specific details of the movement is being proposed as exactly perfect in every conceivable way. What does she mean? Not to get all high and mighty with a lot of high and mighty language. I love her writing, but I think sometimes it can go over people's heads. And I think that we lose people in these arguments. So let me just break it down this way. I like to put it in sort of tech terms, like Steve Jobs. His mantra was, great artists ship. What does that mean? That means if you're a great artist and you're just worried about it being perfect, you never ship the painting. Right? You never ship the painting because you're just going to sit there and you're going to worry about, is it perfect? We can't do this because not every piece is right. And his point is, you know what? When we released the first iPhone, we didn't have 3G. We didn't have it was pretty slow. It's not perfect, but great artists ship. And so great members of Congress could demand a floor vote on Medicare for all, even if not all of the pieces are in place. You don't have all of the votes. Maybe. But guess what? Maybe when push comes to shove, how many of those people, I think about this in so many different ways because AOC's argument on this is so flat, so wrong. Just imagine you have these 500 members, right? These people need to come down for a vote. And now it's on the floor as a Medicare for all vote. Imagine how many phones would be ringing in those people's offices once they learn that this is up for a vote next Thursday. Medicare for all is up for a vote next Thursday. How many of you watching right now, there's almost 9,000 of you watching our stream right now. Let me know in the chat, since we're live right now. What is it? 9:45 a.m. Eastern time right now. Let me know in the chat. Do you support Medicare for all? Universal health care. What would you do if a member of Congress in your district had to go to the floor next week to vote on Medicare for all? Yes or no? Would you call them and tell them to vote for it? Yes or no? See, that's what would happen. There'd be a groundswell. Do you remember a number of years ago? Obviously, you cover technology, David. It was what bill was that? The SOPA?
SOPA and
bill?
PIPA?
Yeah. And I don't know if you can you tell us what those were off the top of your head? Do you know the derivation of those bills?
Yeah, so it was basically where they could charge for internet. So Comcast does that now. They can throttle your internet, so they can say if you don't pay extra, we can say you get this much per month. That was one of the major parts of it. That's the part that people had the biggest problem with, was that they could choose a fast lane for certain websites, and so if Netflix paid, Netflix could have a priority over other things. And everybody argued, well, Comcast has a lot of those same services, so they're probably going to give themselves preferential treatment over the Netflixes and all that stuff.
Right. And ultimately, sadly, we lost it, right? But nevertheless, remember the groundswell against it. Mm-hmm. And members of Congress were saying, my phone has never rang so much in my life. Well, because and they had the groundswell. Remember,
even on the website. So it was the Daily Show. They did this thing, and then what's his name? He was
Jon
the English. No, the English guy that came from Jon Stewart.
Oh, John Oliver.
John Oliver. He did a piece, and the website got nuts. And so they said that it was bots that came in and were making all those statements, like the positive or the negative statements about it. They're like, oh, it's just bots saying that. That's not real people. And so they played it off, and then it passed anyway.
Sadly, but, groundswell support, phones ringing off the hook in congressional offices if they know that this is going to come up for a vote in a short amount of time. I think Jimmy Dore is absolutely right on this. And I see heartbreaking things like this. Like this morning, one of you, David Baldwin, one of our viewers, sent this to me on Twitter. And this is just an example of the kind of stuff that people are dealing with. David Baldwin sent this to me. He said, Mr. Morris, I watch your show every day, and I thank you for your integrity and news reporting. I know how deeply you care, so I wanted to share this with you. I've attached a picture of a sticky note that an Uber Eats delivery driver left my wife and I. It's heartbreaking. So they ordered Uber Eats. Here is the sticky note. Let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. I don't know if I can.
Here,
it says,
I can.
due to COVID-19... Oh, you can? Okay. Due to COVID-19, I lost my work. Please help me to keep this work. Giving me a star in the app, in the Uber Eats app, that will help. If you think that my services deserves it. I'm trying to feed my family in my house during hard times. Thanks. Have a nice day. God bless America. Look at that.
Well, they say
these people don't have health insurance.
They say never meet your heroes, right? And
right.
if you should also never look at how your favorite Congress people or senators vote either. Because if you knew how most of them vote, you would not support them.
Never heard that before, but you're absolutely right. And, I get it. Politics is messy. I've covered politics for 20 years, and it's messy when you dive into what goes into some of these bills. It's very easy for people to be painted a certain way. And that's why I think it's so powerful to have like these straight line votes, these up or down votes with a single issue bill. That way we know what's in it. Nancy Pelosi famously saying with Obamacare, like, we'll have to vote for it first to find out what's in the bill. And she's right, because it's like 10,000 pages. And so people don't know what's in the bill because they don't read it. And there's so many things in this thing. Just like I said with the stimulus bill. I mean, the fact that you have all of this money in there right now hidden in the 525-page bill that bails out defense contractors. They get to stay home, and the government pays their money for them to stay home. And yet,
full wage.
Full wage. And we're calling, by the way, for that to be the same for you. So, paid leave right now. So that's what we're calling for. And yet, we can't get it for you, but it's okay when defense contractors get it buried inside of a bill.
And the thing is,
and they're already getting billions of dollars.
It's our freaking money. It's our money.
Right.
We can't even get back our own money.
And it's buried in there. They're not going to talk about it. So that's why they cram through these big ass bills. Which is why I hope, when if you're joining us late on the stimulus front today, there's some pretty big breaking news on this, which is that direct stimulus checks are going to be included in the stimulus bill. So just a short time ago, and I guess what I'm getting to here on this is Jake Sherman just tweeting a short time ago, and his reporting at Politico has been great. Hill negotiators are on the brink of a $900 billion coronavirus rescue package that would include a new round of direct payments, but would leave out state and local aid and a liability shield. A deal could come as early as this morning. Huge news. That means Bernie Sanders and Josh Hawley won. A little bit. Because we're also learning that it might not be the $1,200 that we'd been hoping for per individual, like was passed back in March. Because these guys are too stingy. And I'm looking right at you, Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, who says that this is not necessary. We don't need stimulus checks to the American people. It's not necessary. Republicans who think it's not necessary. So it's likely to be less than the $1,200, maybe closer to the $600 that President Trump wants, who, by the way, wanted it to be over $2,000 2 weeks ago. But again, they can fund defense contractors, double dip defense contractors, pay them $40 billion a year in a defense budget, and then also pay them paid time off. And we're having to grovel over $1,200 stimulus checks. This is a time for people to rise up. This is a moment. That's why Jimmy Dore is so right on this on this Medicare for all thing. This is a moment. And Caitlin Johnstone's saying inertia. This is an inertia moment right now. And she says, proponents of inertia always try to get people hung up on whether or not the specific details of the movement being proposed is exactly perfect in every conceivable way. They'll point out that it might not succeed, as though you only get a finite amount of movements you're allowed to make. They'll act like any potential flaw is grounds for remaining inert, as though needing every movement to be flawless is a standard we apply anywhere else in our lives. Look at me. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I'm doing a show in front of thousands of people. Is it perfect? No. There's a light over there that's hanging that I got to fix. Did I not do the show today because of that light back there? My hair's a little out of whack today. Did I not do a show? Yesterday, David's internet was down. I didn't have my producer. Did I not do a show? It's never going to be perfect. Call a floor vote. Get them to vote on whether or not they would support Medicare for all. It doesn't have to be perfect. And if the votes aren't there, it shines a light on the cockroaches. And that's how we stomp them out.
And people should be tweeting. People should be calling their senators. You guys should just be being as loud as you can about this on whatever social media platform or wherever you can to make them see that people want this.
Exactly. I'll have a link in the show description where you can sign a petition and also reach out to your member of Congress, call them, tell them, demand a floor vote in the House of Representatives on Medicare for all. Do it. Take 2 minutes out of your day today to do this. Transform lives in this country. She's an inertia person right here, AOC. Problem with this idea is there isn't enough thought given to step number 2. The Dem votes aren't there yet. Oh, so it's not perfect is what you're saying. And it's a razor thin margin with the Dem. So it's razor thin? Okay. So it's not perfect is what you're saying. So you issue threats, hold your vote and lose. Then what? It's not perfect. That's inertia. It's not that. That's what the inertists think, right? You have inertia right now. We are in a pandemic. There has never been a time like the present to get this pushed through. Watch those insurance companies just crumble. And all of these people right now that have pre-existing conditions or now have COVID and can't get access to medical care because of pre-existing conditions, can't get insurance claims filed because the insurance companies are denying them. They're saying, we don't know when you got sick. Was it on the job? We don't know. We're not going to pay for it. So people that are filing workers' comp claims right now because they were on a job at a meat packing facility couldn't get, that's how I got sick. I only go to home and the meat packing facility, and I got sick with COVID. Yeah, how do we know you didn't stop at McDonald's and get it there? That's literally what's being told to people right now. And their medical bills are tens of thousands of dollars. This is outrageous. And again, you're not going to see them talking about this on TV. So when you support a channel like this, when you become a channel member and you support independent journalism, you're covering, you're supporting these types of issues. You flip on MSNBC, I flipped on CNN yesterday, no mention of this at all. Nothing. In one of their top shows. MSNBC, the same thing. They're all talking about Pete Buttigieg going to be the first transportation secretary.
Well,
first
and
openly
all
gay
the
transportation secretary.
most of the blue checks are, going after Jimmy. Like Jimmy's the bad guy. The narrative is that the people that are pushing for this are the bad guys. We can't do this. Come on now. You guys just take your 12, take what we give you and just shut up. Go get in your corner.
Yeah, come on, you progressives. I'm a progressive in name only. I'm telling you, true progressives, just quiet down now. Quiet down. Back off. Because Jimmy uses his audience, uses his platform to start a real movement.
That's it. It's really that simple. Now is the time for progressives to exercise their power, play hardball, and use their power for the benefit of their constituents.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine if they did that. And again, I come back to the election, November. Remember, there was all this stink about, wow, Nancy Pelosi, she should lose her leadership position because she lost lots of seats in the House. Remember? Where did that go, right? And guess who won in the House? Progressives won re-election, and progressives won. So new faces in the House are truly progressive. Not this like middle of the road BS. Not these centrist corporate Democrats BS. No, truly progressive. They ran on Medicare for all and they won. And who lost in the House? Who lost to Republicans? Corporate Democrats that continue to vote for foreign wars, that do not support Medicare for all, that continue to support things like fracking and fossil fuels being burned. They look just like Republicans. So when the choice came for them to vote either Republican or a Democrat that looks like a Republican, we'll just pick the Republican. But you know who won seats? Progressives. Now you have this power. Call her out. So let's push them. I'll have links in the show notes. Let's push them on this. Call them today. Take 2 minutes out of your day and call your representative. Demand that they call for a floor vote of Medicare for all on the floor of the House of Representatives before you vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. Demand it. And subscribe to our channel while you're there. See this little Santa hat right down here? Little Santa hat? Just click on that. If you click on that, right, Dave, that should make you a subscriber. Click on it and subscribe. The little subscribe button should pop right up. Tickle that little Santa hat. And turn on the little bell notification so you'll be notified as soon as we publish a new video. We have our morning newsletter.
This really is.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is really one of the only times in my life that I can remember where they've had this much leverage that they could use. Like this much leverage. There's a lot of leverage here. So if they don't use it, I agree with
you. I can't recall a time, not even during the Obamacare stuff, because we all knew what was going on behind. I was a news anchor then covering the Obamacare negotiations daily. That was my morning show every morning on the news, covering that in the ins and outs. And it was all just this like one big fat wet kiss for the insurance industry and pharmaceuticals companies, you know? How are pharmaceutical prices going up? I thought we passed Obamacare. Socialized medicine. If anyone tells you Obamacare is socialized medicine, laugh in their face and call them ignorant. And yet during a pandemic, millions are losing their health care. You're right. I mean, David, you're absolutely right. This is a moment right now, right? As we enter this like grimmest part of the year in COVID, 3,000 dead every day in the United States. Massive snowstorm unfolding on the East Coast of the United States. A pandemic. Job loss like we've never seen before. A stock market doing great. Billionaires doing great. What more do you need? I mean, you know, this is like what Malcolm Gladwell writes about in his book, Tipping Point, right? This is a tipping point.
It really
like what
is.
we saw with the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, George Floyd was a tipping point, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is literally time, like, for us to hold. And the thing is, like, this is be the proof, like we did with Sopa and Pippa. We held their feet to the fire and we lost. And the thing is, like, if we do that this time and we lose again, that should tell people exactly what we have in there. We have no one in there for us. Not one single person represents us in this whole body.
Right. Yeah, if you were put in because of this, AOC, Ilhan Omar, the Squad, Bowman, all of these guys. This is why you were elected, because you ran on these issues. Here's an opportunity for you to throw out the leadership, revolt against this leadership. I mean, heck, front page of Politico, Ocasio-Cortez takes a direct shot at Pelosi and Schumer. Headline, the Progressive Star bluntly stated that we need new leadership in the Democratic Party. She said that today. She said, we need a next generation of younger lawmakers. She says that Pelosi and Schumer should no longer lead Democrats in Congress. I do think we need new leadership in the Democratic Party, she says. The remarks from the freshman congresswoman and superstar of the party's left wing represented her most direct attack yet on Pelosi and Schumer. Schumer, 70 years old, was reelected. Pelosi, again, positioned to be reelected as Speaker in January. They've occupied the past leadership roles for the past 14 years. Oh, Pelosi's 80 years old. I'm sorry. And Steny Hoyer, 81 years old. And this isn't about being ageist. It's about being ruled by corporatists. Pelosi says this will be my last time as Speaker of the House. Oh, you think so? Unless you're voted out. But Ocasio-Cortez also offered criticism of progressives, noting that the left isn't really making a plan. There are folks more conservative than even Pelosi and Schumer who are willing to kind of fill that void in leadership. They don't have a plan. That's the problem. That's the problem with these guys, is that they just want to say what they won't vote again, what they won't bring to a vote, or they won't vote, they're not going to vote for this or that. But then they don't put up a plan. So they'll tell us why they can't do something, but then they don't actually put forth a bill to get it done.
You know, I wish somebody like would come out of left field, a Republican like Justin Amash would come out and be like, I'm going to put it on the floor.
Heck yeah, we have, look, Josh Hawley demanding stimulus checks for $1,200, a Republican joining with Bernie Sanders. That should be a progressive joining with Bernie Sanders. But we have a Republican that has to do it?
The President of the United States has said that he is in favor of direct assistance. I thank the majority leader for his own support for direct assistance. The Speaker of the House has said that she is in favor of direct assistance, and that is why there is no reason why this body should leave next week before we vote on and approve direct assistance to working families. Now, let me just say,
And that deadline is in a few days. So by Friday, folks, scrambling right now to get this stimulus package together. That guy's a Republican. Where is the leadership from the progressives? Who's going to come forward and actually grow a pair? It's fine that you want to criticize Pelosi and Schumer. It's fine that you want to tell us what you won't vote for or what you won't put on the floor, but why don't you come up with a plan? I used to hate this. I don't. They probably don't do this anymore now because of COVID in schools. But we used to sit at like tables in school growing up, and what's going on here? I hear something. You ever hear like a sound effect? I'm like, what is that? Anyway, so we used to sit around a table in school, and you'd have to come up with a plan. Like, okay, that table's going to build this project. That table over there with your 5 classmates are going to build this project. And everyone would just go around and tell what they wouldn't want to do. I don't want to do that. We did that last time. And I don't want to do that. I don't like green. I don't like this. Everyone just wants to tell you what they don't want. And it takes somebody at that table to stand up and say, okay, I have an idea. Why don't we try it this way? Let's do it this way. And you're always going to have the naysayers who are going to tell you can't do something. They're always going to tell you can't do something. And it just takes that one person, that inertia, to do it without it being perfect to get it done. And we are at this tipping point moment. And I see a lot of you putting up the phone numbers of members of Congress right here on the screen. Do it. I'm going to put it in the show description. Main switchboard, you guys can call. Take 2 minutes out of your day to tell your member of Congress. Call them. Light up their switchboard and tell them. Leave them a message. Send them an email. Tell them, send a tweet to them as well that you want Medicare for all. Oh, and by the way, tell them you want direct stimulus checks. If you do want that, after all.